On today's edition of the show, we talk Super Showdown. We give you all our predictions for this Thursday's event, and we waste the time of an Emmy Award-winning journalist to talk about wrestling because, well, he also writes for WrestlingInc.com. All that and more. The Heel to the Face podcast with Brandon Clements starts right now.
So silence your cell phones, hold your applause, and tune into the truth.
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody.
Getting beat up by 9 guys in Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame in.
From the 315 to the world, this is the Heel to Face podcast.
The cream of the crop! Wow, man, freaked out!
Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Heel to the Face.
I said, are you ready?
From Armory Square in downtown Syracuse, New York, let's send it now to Brandon and Jared.
Bad luck seems to be my middle name. They might as well tag me up with my buddies from Syracuse.
This is the Heel to the Face podcast. We're joined as always with Brandon the Icebreaker Clements. He's on Twitter at Icebreaker21. Myself at KRock Jared, and the program, most importantly, at Heel to the Face on Twitter. You can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Play, anywhere you find podcasts, and of course visually on YouTube. We got an interview coming up a little bit later in the show, but right now we're going to get right into Super Showdown this Thursday. It is the 6th of what are going to be many in a 10-year contract WWE has with running big-time shows from Saudi Arabia. The first show, and it wasn't a streak I said on purpose or anything like that, but I won't be able to watch this one live. I'll be just like you, staying off social media all day. This will be a nice thing to watch Thursday night.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'll be working. I'll be in the office myself, so it'll probably be a Thursday night delight, a little Thursday night treat, watch a little bit. Even though I'm not a huge fan of it, I'm still going to watch it just, got to see what's going on. I want to see what they're doing.
I think that's what kind of makes it good so that these shows, the first one, obviously the Greatest Royal Rumble is super long, but I like these shows to be shorter and shorter just for the fact that when I get home, I obviously watch it on record, and you want that show to be a little bit shorter because, let's just be honest, we love watching WrestleMania live, but we don't really go back and watch it from start to finish because, well, it's a long show.
Yeah, I'm not a proponent of sitting there for 5 hours and watching. As much as I love wrestling, 5 hours is a little too long. I like a good show, like a 3-hour show. And you can obviously fast forward through stuff. You can get it done in 2 hours.
The last couple shows have been more in the 4-hour range. Nothing crazy. No 7-hour. No ending at 1 a.m. Saudi Arabian time or 2 a.m.
We don't need 7 hours.
Greatest Royal Rumble was. This seems like a more modest show coming up. But a big show nonetheless. And I've been reading on social media, and we've obviously talked about this in length and in nauseum on this show. But, people are saying it's a bona fide house show. But every show that comes along the line, it becomes less and less of a house show. Goldberg made his debut, or he showed up on SmackDown. Not his debut, but he showed up on SmackDown to promote the match. Some of the matches do have build. Roman Reigns, Baron Corbin. Obviously, a big women's match has a little bit of a build. Brock Lesnar, Ricochet. That actually feels less like a house show because he's facing somebody whom is kind of more like in your house pay-per-view style. Somebody you see him facing at Elimination Chamber, I guess, to kind of get ready for WrestleMania. Throwaway in that regard. But big sightings. Undertaker apparently is on his way to Saudi Arabia, so we know that, as well as Hulk Hogan is scheduled to be there as well. I mean, so far, we're going to be talking Elimination Chamber next week, so I don't really want to get into it now, but there is nothing to get into now. This actually looks to me like it's going to have more implications for the WrestleMania card down the line than Elimination Chamber. We were actually talking a little bit before the show. This podcast might be going international next year. Maybe I might skip out on WrestleMania and hit up one of these Saudi Arabia shows, not just to see it live and in person and to put my money where my mouth is and show that this is a WrestleMania caliber show, but obviously there's lots more to do.
Can I just cut you off? You're crazy. All right, you're crazy. I personally, I'm not going to Saudi Arabia. I'm not going to the Super Showdown, the Crown Jewels, over WrestleMania. I mean, I know you've gone to
Well, maybe I'll go to both. It depends on how far away, but obviously a trip to Saudi Arabia about 5 weeks before WrestleMania. I try my best to swing things, but that's a little bit tough.
Yeah, that's a lot of cash going to Saudi Arabia, so,
But this year's Saudi Arabia show in just 2 days' time, probably less than that now, actually, in Saudi Arabia time, in about a day's time in Saudi Arabia. We'll get to the show. We'll start right at the bottom. It is I forgot it's the Stone of importance in Saudi Arabia. Don't listen to this in Saudi Arabia if I come next year because I'm going to sound like a awful not intelligent person and you're going to want to stone me for being some dumb American coming into your country. But yeah, the Twag or whatever we're calling it, trophy.
Dwight, maybe?
Twag. They said it, I heard it a bunch, but it went in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, I'm not going
It's just one of these, like the trophy that Shane McMahon won a couple years ago, last year's biggest Royal. They just have to have some sort of match where it has a lot of people in it. The Greatest Royal Rumble apparently was, the first version of this, where Braun Strowman won a belt, a big green belt.
So who wins this match? I mean, what do we got here?
In this match, we got Rey Mysterio, R-Truth, AJ Styles, Andrade, Eric Rowan with the cage thing he's got going on here, and Bobby Lashley. We got rumors going on. AJ Styles is going to start a feud with The Undertaker that has no footing, so it's got to start somewhere for WrestleMania. Rumors are that it's going to start here, but either way, I don't think that's going to change the outcome other than the fact that it might mean AJ Styles isn't going to win.
I'll say this. I think
Bobby Lashley. That'll be my pick.
I'll go Andrade. I think Andrade. I think it'd be a good win for him. I think AJ looks like he's going to win, and then Undertaker comes out. I mean, the reports are that he's going to make an appearance there and set up the WrestleMania storyline. So I'll go with Andrade. I think it's going to be a good match. Random question, I should say. Let me rephrase that. So how is Rowan going to get that thing over customs? I'm just trying to figure that one out.
Well, maybe we've seen with the Saudi Arabia shows. Bobby Lashley, for example, might not be with Lana going to ringside. So that might just have to be a little something that they leave behind in the storyline, I guess. So it might just be Eric Rowan by himself. But the reason I'm not going to say Andrade or Rey Mysterio, I'm staying away from those picks because I feel they've got a real storyline between those guys, maybe with the U.S. belt on the line come WrestleMania. So I feel that it's, like a Bobby Lashley.
So nobody's picking R-Truth, I guess, huh? No R-Truth?
I mean, he's already got one belt. I mean, I guess he can walk around with, if R-Truth wins, that would be pretty hilarious because what he's doing with the 24/7 belt is pretty good. So if he takes this belt, thinking maybe he's got to defend it, or this trophy, apparently what it is, defending it like the 24/7 belt, mispronouncing the name of it like we are butchering it now, be quite entertaining. That's all I got to say.
I mean, R-Truth, for one thing that he's always been, he's a showman. He's very entertaining. I've always loved R-Truth. I loved him back in the K-Quick days, back years ago, like 20 years ago. Remember K-Quick and Road Dogg?
Who doesn't remember?
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah, K-Quick. Well, that was Lowdown, right?
It was, I think it was.
K-Quick and Road Dogg. I remember they had
K-Quick and Road Dogg.
The worst song. No, I'm thinking of when X-Pac was in the little group. I think that was Lowdown with D'Lo Brown and X-Pac, and they had the Uncle Cracker song.
Yep, I remember that.
That was the worst because it was like a ballad. It started out strong, and then it was like a ballad from Uncle Cracker. Worst song. Back on topic of Super Showdown. The SmackDown Women's Championships on the line. It was a monumental thing to get a women's match in general on the last Saudi Arabia show. This time, it's well advertised in advance. There was a number one contender match for it. Naomi beat out Carmella, so it'll be Bayley versus Naomi. Bayley's already normally wears a T-shirt to the arenas anyway, so that won't look out of the ordinary. Naomi might be a little more covered up, but she's, again, not somebody who shows off too much. So that's probably why these were a perfect pick.
Yeah, it's not like you're putting Alexa Bliss in there.
Yeah, you're not putting Alexa Bliss. You're not putting Carmella. You're not putting Kelly or any of this kind of stuff in there.
Yep.
So Bayley versus Naomi. Do you see a belt changing hands here? Remember, we got another pay-per-view on the line here. So if a belt does change hands, there could be just a forced rematch or something stupid.
I think Bayley, I mean, I'm just going to take another step. Bayley's going to be the champion all the way to WrestleMania.
All right. I mean, I'm probably taking Bayley as well, but I'm seeing the opportunity and the possibility of a Naomi winning it and then maybe at Elimination Chamber in 2 weeks, boom, a rematch just to fill spots on the card. Because so far, we just got the 2 Elimination Chamber matches, technically one, because the other one's not officially announced yet with Roman Reigns and the rest of them. But speaking of Roman Reigns, he's going to take on his nemesis of the last 6 months, King Corbin, inside of a steel cage. This looks to be the last time they will face, as Roman Reigns will move on to better pastures, what looks like a match at WrestleMania.
Thank goodness, yeah.
So in this final match between King Corbin and Roman Reigns, I'm going King Corbin just because you got to give him something. Come on, WWE, you can't have us have this all the time and literally the same over and over again, unless you're turning King Corbin into, the next, what's the loser, the infamous Kurt Hawkins? Unless you turn him into the next Kurt Hawkins.
All right, let's not put it on that level. But I'm going to go with Roman Reigns. I think the perfect way to end the storyline is just have Roman win, be done with it, move on.
Storyline was it? Roman Reigns just won every match.
That's fine.
Over and over.
That's fine. Because here's the thing: if Baron Corbin wins, then they're going to have another match. Because Roman's like, I'm not gonna, I can't lose. I gotta go. I think storyline purposes. I think Roman Reigns wins. I think they're just going to knock this thing out of the park and be done.
John Morrison. This isn't his in-ring debut, but I guess is
Pay-per-view debut?
Pay-per-view debut with The Miz.
Or actually, let me correct that. Very expensive live event debut. There you go.
They take on the New Day for the tag team championships. I'm gonna go out of my way here and say John Morrison and The Miz become the new tag team champions. Because I could see them in a higher profile match at WrestleMania. I could see the New Day being left off the WrestleMania card and being thrown into the WrestleMania Battle Royal. But The Miz and John Morrison, similar to Shane McMahon's involvement with The Miz becoming tag team champions last year and being a high profile tag team champion, I feel like we might have this here. Here's
the thing. I'm going to agree with you on this. I think it's time for Miz and Morrison to get the titles. The reason why, we're just going to skip into it. We're going to jump right in to the Raw Tag Team Championship. I just don't see Murphy and Rollins losing to the Profits. I love the Profits. I think they're fantastic. I figure one of the tag titles is going to flip because they're going to flip it around. It's too soon for Murphy and Rollins.
I think it's great that the Street Profits are finally in matches and they're not just behind the scenes.
And they're fantastic. Montez is good, man. He put on that match with Rollins on Monday Night Raw was pretty good.
Yeah, they both had singles matches on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, very good.
It's great to see them not just doing the we want the smoke in the back, the segments upon segments, which are fine, but they finally are in the ring, and nice to see them for the tag belts. But yeah, I see Seth Rollins and Murphy retaining the belts and keeping on their storyline as well with the Monday Night Messiah and his group as well. But AOP is a very interesting factor that could be put into this match as well. I'm expecting an 8-man tag at WrestleMania with all of them, but could AOP maybe turn on those guys, set up a AOP versus Seth Rollins and Buddy?
No, it's too early. I don't think it's going to happen yet. I think they're going to keep this faction together for a little while.
All right, the 2 World Championship matches. Featuring 2 guys who will not be at Elimination Chamber because they cost a little bit too much money. I'm talking, Brock Lesnar not going to be at a pay-per-view 2 weeks in a row, let's be real. Brock Lesnar, the current champion, versus Ricochet. This is one of those, it goes with the why is Rhea Ripley facing Bianca Belair when she already is going to face Charlotte Flair. Why is Shayna Baszler in the Elimination Chamber? This goes just with the rest of them. It's a formidable event. It just keeps Brock Lesnar busy. He's got to be on this card because Saudi Arabia is paying him big money to be there. Ricochet puts up a good fight. It's an entertaining match. People see it out of nowhere. But Brock Lesnar's keeping the belt.
Yeah, this match is laughable. The
worst part is it'd be great if it had a good build.
I'm gonna ask you this question. We already know who's winning. How long does the match really last? I'm gonna say less than 90 seconds.
I say it goes longer than that. I say Ricochet puts up a good performance, and I would say this much: it would be a good match, and maybe even a WrestleMania main event down the line, and a match we look forward to because Ricochet is that kind of up and comer. He's kind of like Finn Balor. How we look forward to him facing Brock Lesnar, but unfortunately, in the circumstances of knowing down the line who Brock Lesnar will be facing at WrestleMania. That's where we get Brock Lesnar obviously coming with the win. If this was SummerSlam and had a good build to it, I'd be looking forward to this.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Ricochet, he's a good talent, and I hope down the line he becomes a champion.
I agree. He's really good. I think they need to keep building him up. I think he's a guy that you could build your brand around.
And the match, a lot of people could go either way on right here. Bray Wyatt, the champion who won the championship at Crown Jewel, the last Saudi Arabia event in the fall, takes on Goldberg. Now, if Goldberg's going to be involved at WrestleMania, he's probably going to win the belt from Bray Wyatt. Now, Bray Wyatt defends. Either way, it looks like the winner faces Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Is it going to be Goldberg versus Roman Reigns for the Universal title, or is Bray Wyatt going to find a way? And I don't even know how he's going to find a way because you talk about short matches. That's Goldberg's thing. And Goldberg is not selling Bray Wyatt. Let's just remind you here. Goldberg is not selling Bray Wyatt at all, which I don't necessarily think I'm a fan of. I think it hurts Bray Wyatt a little bit that he's, let me guess, you're behind me. And then Bray Wyatt goes to do something and he spears him and then he walks away like, this is silly. This is stupid. I don't care about you. He's hurting the character of Bray Wyatt.
Based on what we saw on Monday Night Raw this week, I'm going to say Goldberg wins. Just exactly what you said. Goldberg just kind of pissing on the Fiend. So to me, at this point, I think it's plus.
If he wins, that is going to be a short match.
Yeah, it'll be quick. Yeah, honestly, I think they're both not going to be that long. Brock Lesnar, he doesn't really put on long matches, really. So
yeah, but I want to see Bray Wyatt. It's hard because how does Goldberg lose? That's a good question, especially the way that he's just not selling Bray Wyatt at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I'll take Bray Wyatt in this. I'll go on a limb. I want Bray Wyatt to win, so I'll take Bray Wyatt.
So do I, but I think they're set up Goldberg and Roman for the one of the main events, if not the main event at WrestleMania.
All right, so those are Super Showdown predictions. Coming up next, we have an interview with an Emmy Award winner, 3-time Emmy nominee, and writer for WrestlingInc.com, as well as many other pro wrestling accolades. This Saturday, a house show with the SmackDown brand, once they come over from Saudi Arabia, in Elmira, New York. He will host a special kickoff show. Andy Malnoske from WTEM NBC in Elmira. He joins us right now on the show. Back here on the Heel to the Face podcast, we are joined by an Emmy Award winner, not just an Emmy Award winner, but the only one in the history of the Corning, Elmira, Southern Tier area when it comes to his excellence in television. He formerly worked right here in Syracuse for WSDM and CNY Central. He's currently the sports director down in Elmira for WTEM. And he's got a cool thing going on this weekend in Elmira as the WWE comes to town on their road to WrestleMania. The show starts at 7:30, but from 6:30 to 7:30, this guy will be your kickoff host from the First Arena. We are talking with Andy Malnoske. Thank you for being on the show. First question I have for you, Andy Malnoske, is maybe this week.
Malnoske. I want to make sure that Malnoske. Yeah, Malnoske is that. He was that guy with the MTV show way back.
Yes, Andy. Yes, I remember. It was a good show. It's not too bad to get mistaken for him. People would think like, wow, he's doing great. We thought he would have flamed out at 15 years old, but look, he's now a sports director down in Elmira, New York. So, but this week you got a show, but it's not your first time in the WWE brand. Two-time finalist for an announcer audition. Tell me more. Was this like a dream job, ESPN style setup? Tell me a little more about how you auditioned for WWE in the past.
Well, guys, first off, I want to say thank you for allowing me to be on here today. It's really quite awesome. And obviously, K-Rock and the podcast, keep doing big things, keep chasing your dreams, and keep battling, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. I had a chance to work in Syracuse up there. Very familiar with you guys' work, so kudos to you guys for keeping things rocking. For me in particular, it's been a journey. And I don't know how much time we got, but I would do the best I can to condense it as best we can. I've been a lifelong wrestling fan, and I think anybody that gets involved in sports entertainment, wrestling, WWE, AEW, it doesn't really matter. You have to love the product. You have to be all in, all invested as best as you can. And for me, how I got my start in wrestling, I got to go all the way back to 2006, 2007. I used to be an intern at the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame
in Amsterdam,
New York. I don't know if you guys were there or ever been there.
I've been there once. I remember 2CW ran a Hall of Fame show, the Hall of Fame weekend. I know the Hall of Fame has since moved from Amsterdam to Texas. It's a little unfortunate that it couldn't be a bigger thing than it is, but it is a cool thing nonetheless.
Yes. And actually, the great news about that is, and I'm a part of it as well, doing videos for this new venture, the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, with a lot of the same people, is going to be starting in the Albany area again. Actually, their first dinner is going to be in May, and they're looking at their first brick-and-mortar place. A lot of the same guys that started the PWHS in Amsterdam are going to be coming back up this way. So very exciting times for professional wrestling, not just in our region, but certainly upstate as well with Albany. So, but to answer your question there, that was the first experience I ever had going back there, and people thought I was crazy because I would drive from Horseheads, Elmira, New York, 3.5 hours to the Hall of Fame, and the big payoff at the end of the year was interviewing these legends that came to the conventions that did their thing and came out in drones, and the fans came. So I got to interview those guys, but in the meantime, I would go up there. I thought I was crazy to go up there and do whatever I could just to get involved. And it was unpaid. I mop floors. I wash windows. But all the while, I'd be listening to probably one of the greatest minds, one of the just best minds in general about sports and entertainment, a guy named Tony Villano. And me and Tony are still close to this very day, and he gave me so many great lessons that I'll never forget, going inside the business and how to get these guys and their travel accommodations, guys like George Animal Steele, Rowdy Piper, Nick Bockwinkel, just these legendary names. And once you get that experience, you want more. You want to keep going forward. And I did. And from that point on, it led to so many other things. Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine down in Blue Bell, Pennsylvania. Amazing venture down there. A guy named Stu Sachs, he's been there since the beginning, practically, late 70s, early 80s. And so everything just kept building. And I made a promise to myself that whatever I did in my life, whether it was sportscasting, play-by-play, professional wrestling, I was going to do everything I possibly could to be the guy standing in the end. And WWE, some of the best advice I ever got. You guys are familiar with Earl Hebner, the great official?
Absolutely.
Everyone knows him, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone knows him, so he's the man. And he gave me some great advice. He said, listen, you got to get your experience and take a chance. Don't wait on it, but make sure also be smart about it, and don't just say, hey, I belong. You got to prove you belong first. And that always stuck with me, so I kept building and building and building. Did everything I could, interviewed wrestlers any chance I could, drove up to 2 CW shows with Jake the Snake Roberts. Jack Trave is one of the greatest talkers in the history of the New York wrestling scene, KJ Parker.
Yes.
And he's one of my great pals.
Yes,
And,
I worked with him on the Ring Crew doing 2 CW shows back in the day. And I have to,
no way.
I have to thank you very much for being somebody. It's great to have somebody like yourself in the media because, let's be real. If you're not a fan of something like sports entertainment, it's probably not going to get covered. And somebody like yourself who covered the last show for 2CW, something like that might have gone. You were obviously probably one of the only stations to cover it because of your personal love affair with the world of professional wrestling.
Yes. No, and thank you for saying that. Because, it's funny you mentioned that because we had that exact same conversation a week and a half ago. And I was on the phone with some of these marketing folks out in Stanford, and they're asking, help promote, help market. And so they're like, hey, we're going to get you in touch with one of our agents. Clear some time for Jeff Jarrett. And I said, absolutely. I'd love to talk to Jeff. And Jeff's like, he says, okay, Hall of Famer. He's a legend in this industry. I've been there, done it all pretty much. And he said, tell me about yourself. What kind of a broadcaster are you? So I, gave him my stuff. I said, what I am, Jeff, is I am the sports guy that covers wrestling because it is special. There's no one on this planet that has the schedule that a professional wrestler has, and 300 days a year traveling, and he loved hearing it. I said, I will always cover professional wrestling because A, I love it, but B, the more exposure we give to the mainstream is going to be that much more impactful down the line. And just awesome stuff, man. And I appreciate you saying that. That last TCW show was emotional. They talked about having that reunion. Didn't end up happening, but it was nice to go out on a high note. We're pretty much where a lot of it all began, right? Was in that same center.
Yes, at the Pastime.
Yeah, the Pastime Athletic Club there, and remember, like it was yesterday, I went up there, and Jack Trades and everybody else, and just a special time. But so fast forward to all this stuff, never got in the news to be. It was never the be all end all for me. It was a means to get to wrestling. That's why I got on the news, and it sounds crazy, but Robin Williams said it best. If you know if you're Robin Williams fans or not, but he says that little spark of insanity that we all have, that's what keeps you alive. Never lose it, because if you lose that, you're done. And it's kind of like it's what gets you. What he meant by that is, have that fire and that passion for something every day. And I think it was Theodore Roosevelt who said, "You are what you think about every day, all day." And I always thought about wrestling, still do to this day. And the WWE is an animal. It always will be. They're the biggest and the greatest company in the world because not only have they battled for where their position is in the market, they've earned that place because they've evolved with the times. And the first ever tryout I ended up having out in WWE was back in 2012. It's a while ago. And I can go on for a long time here, but long story short, I think I was just happy to be there. I think I was just happy to get the tryout. And looking back on it, it was such a great experience because, I didn't get the job, but, I got a chance to audition with Josh Matthews and to learn from him and pick his brain a little bit. Guys like Tom Phillips, guys like Renee Young were hired out of that wave, that crop of people. And the guy who was there at the time was a guy named Will Steger. He's actually no longer with WWE, but he actually he went on to do movies and sports documentaries and stuff. But he just basically I had to wait a whole summer to find out if I got the job or not, and went out there in like June, didn't hear anything until about August, and so you're kind of like, all right, is this going to happen or what? But it didn't happen. So after that point, just battled and battled and battled to say, I made a promise to myself that, hey, do whatever it takes. I'm going to go. I'm going to drive 2 hours, for an interview with Marty frickin' Jannetty, and I'm going to do that. And we did, and we fought all the way back, and ended up getting a tryout again down at NXT in Orlando a couple years later. Goes down to the final 2 guys that they brought in, and who actually talked to him today. Greg Hamilton, who's the Fox announcer on SmackDown, and tremendous talent, great guy, and ultimately they chose Greg for that situation and for that position, which is, I'm sure I would have done the same. But really the whole motto of what I'm trying to get to with you guys tonight, and thank you for having me on, is you just never, ever sell yourself short. Destiny is destiny, and sometimes you have to let things play out. But also, if you keep hammering every day, amazing things are going to happen. Case in point, this Saturday.
Andy, Brandon Clements, Brandon the Iceberg Clements here. I want to ask you this.
Brandon?
What's going on, man? Third, I got to say this, third time's a charm. I'm thinking you're going to get the third time. You have a great voice. I've listened to your stuff all over.
Thanks,
Cornell. I'm actually a big lacrosse guy too, so I've
Oh yeah,
I love it, man. I love it. I'm a Syracuse lacrosse fan, man. So
Oh my God, Cornell women's lacrosse. I'll be next Saturday. I've got a game next Saturday, and then Syracuse women are coming down here in April, so we'll be doing that one as well.
Oh, Cornell's always got a good lacrosse program. Now, you've done everything. You're a jack of all trades, my friend. I have to tell you. But what I want to ask you, and you've interviewed like everybody, like all the legends that you've interviewed. I have to ask you, between wrestling and just in general, I'm going to give you 2 names or two spots in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the all-time favorite interview you ever had? And then the follow-up is, in general, besides wrestling, who was another interview that you would say is on the top of your list?
Oh man, that's an awesome question. It makes you think and it makes you reflect. So for me, I also do interviews for WrestlingInc.com, and amazing that they allow me to have some creative freedom where I can go out and pitch ideas and say, hey, how about this guy? Can we talk to this guy? Like tonight, we've got an event coming down here in Sayre, Pennsylvania. It's about 20 minutes south of the border here in New York. And Trevor Murdoch, talked to Trevor Murdoch tonight for about half an hour. And just a super guy. And then Greg Hamilton earlier in the day, which I'll post that interview later. But best interview ever. My goodness. I guess I'll answer it in 2 parts for wrestling. One, you never forget your first interview. And that, you soak it up and you're like, wow, this is the coolest thing ever. Interviewed a gentleman who's no longer with us, Nick Bockwinkel, AWA champion, legend, Hall of Famer. That was at the Wrestling Hall of Fame back in 2007. So that was my first real big interview there. Jake the Snake Roberts came in studio here a couple years ago for a Comic-Con, and that was a lot of fun. The Jake on screen compared to the Jake off screen is quite different. So that was pretty entertaining. But I guess to answer that question, I would say Jake the Snake in studio was probably one of my favorites. But the all-time favorite, man, George the Animal Steel was a lot of fun. And he literally, he would choke you literally during his interviews. And I've never forgot that. That was in Amsterdam as well. And you never know what some of these guys are going to say. You guys know it. You're in the business. You interview guys all the time. And the ones that catch you off guard are the ones that are wow, that's pretty memorable, And but I would say that from a wrestling standpoint, I almost have to think about that even heavier, because there's been so many guys that we've been able to talk to and have been fortunate to speak with in the last 11 years of doing this. Football-wise and sports-wise, football comes to mind. Mike Ditka. That was a lot of fun talking with Mike. It was a media scrum, so to speak. I covered the Super Bowl one year back in New Orleans back in 2013. And probably the most intense guy you'd ever talk to, still is to this day. So that's one that sticks out. But also, just from a personal standpoint, Frank Thomas. I don't know if you guys remember Frank Thomas.
As a Blue Jays fan, I am a Frank Thomas fan.
Yeah, great guy. Great guy.
All right. Yes, so now we're talking business.
And a Sega Genesis fan as well. I mean, how can you forget back in the day?
Geez.
The big
Dude, I love it. I love it. Like, so he had his Hall of Fame day where basically what, as you guys have heard of it, like Cooperstown allows these guys to come in and tour the hall and do like a small media availability before the big event in the summer. And so I come into work one day, WNY at the time when I was there, and got an email from the PR guy. He says, "Hey, you want to come up and interview Frank Thomas?" I was like, "Oh my God, I'll be there," because he was my all-time favorite player. And how that came to be, my parents had an old-school satellite dish, and literally, like, it was you could pick up stations all across the country. And we got Sports Channel Chicago, and back in the old 4x3 days, Thomas was so big, he could barely fit in the camera lens from the shopping center field. And, it was friggin' awesome. Sorry to swear there. But
it's all right. We're a podcast.
We're a podcast.
We can say what we want.
Yeah, bleep me out,
Big
Bleep
Hurt,
me
man.
out.
You gotta love the Big Hurt.
You have to. And he came up to that Hall of Fame thing, and like, it was one of the funnest things I've ever done, because me and my best friend, who actually works at another station here in this market, we drove up in the morning, and it was a media scrum. But since I had literally over 1,000, no lie, over 1,000 Frank Thomas cards, I knew everything about his life, his stats, what years. It became basically a conversation between me and Frank, and that's just an honor. And I always remember that.
All right, we won't take up too much more of your time. We could talk to you for hours, and hopefully maybe we'll get to talk to you again in the future. But we want to talk about this Saturday's event. So the show starts at 7:30. It's the Road to WrestleMania SmackDown house show at the First Arena in Elmira. Hopefully everybody makes it back from Saudi Arabia in time for the show on Saturday night. But from 6:30 to 7:30, you are hosting live at the First Arena a special WWE branded kickoff show. If we come early in attendance, what are we expecting to see?
Man, it's going to be a lot of fun. Talking with Greg today, he gave me a lot of great information. Working with a guy named John Acosta, initially I thought it was going to be Greg, but certainly he's Saudi Arabia show. That's obviously a big thing for them. So John Acosta is a new broadcaster with them, new announcer. So me and John are going to work together. The big selling point of this, and they're going to try to do this. I don't know if they're going to do it in every market, but they're going to try to test it out and see where it goes. Because back in the older days, if you guys went to house shows in Binghamton or the War Memorial or wherever, they would do a lot of community involvement. And they came to me, and I just based a lot of it on my history with this company, and said, "Hey, what are some feel-good stories in this market? What do you know?" And so I pitched a great idea to them. We had a wrestler up here, a local high school wrestler. His name is Jake Cole, and 13 years old, born with autism, and legally is blind as well. And so wrestling in WWE, like, he loves how it makes him feel, and just an amazing thing. So I pitched that idea because we did a story on Jake last year, and literally, like, they said, "We love this. See if the family will come here." So I said, "Okay, I'll ask them right away." And they ended up saying yes, and they're coming in. We're going to honor Jake on the pre-show. We're going to acknowledge him. And we're going to do a lot of fan interaction, whether it be, hashtag WWE Elmira. It's going to be a lot of fun, breaking down some of the matches for the night. And whatever they throw at me, I'm going to be ready to go because, you just never know what tomorrow's going to bring, and you never know what an opportunity like this is going to bring. And I say, let's go, man. Community involvement, WWE, you can't lose.
Yeah, somebody who's attended a lot of Raws and SmackDowns recently, I can say that WWE has done more between commercial breaks. That's more of the minor league baseball kind of mentality with throwing T-shirts into the crowd and doing contests, fastest to name the most amount of wrestlers, wins a prize pack, that kind of thing. So I expect some of that is going to take place this Saturday in Elmira as well.
Dude, I can't wait. And you guys know, Syracuse is an amazing city. I love my time up there. It's just, one of the big reasons why I left Syracuse was my wrestling. I was the weekend sports anchor at CMI Central, and a great team up there. And I needed to get back to what I love the most, and working Monday through Friday sports, but also doing my wrestling stuff on the weekends. Just couldn't do that when I was up there because I was obligated to be the weekend sports anchor. So. But no love lost. I'm just happy where I'm at now, and you create your own opportunities. If you still work and you put the time in. Quick side note story for you guys, real quick. The World Memorial is actually where I started for that NXT audition a few years ago. A guy named Johnny Greco, who's originally from Oneonta, New York, was the producer on the live events at that time. He's actually now downstate at Madison Square Garden as a marketing sports guy down there. But I had to do a full audition at the War Memorial a few years back. And Tony Chimmel, if you guys know that name, right?
Yes.
Tony Chimmel.
Of course. Oh, yeah.
I mean, the guy's a legend.
Absolutely.
So I had to do a mock interview with Tony Chimmel as him acting like he was a wrestler. And, then doing my whole spiel with, pumping up Syracuse and, stuff like that. And it was just awesome, man. And I've got a lot of love for Syracuse and how much it's given me. And certainly my whole life from John Wallace in 96 to Donovan McNabb, you name it. So it's a great place.
Well, unfortunately, this Saturday when they retire John Wallace's jersey at the Carrier Dome, you'll be a little bit busy working with your first love, the WWE. I hope that we talk to you in the future, maybe even under the banner. Maybe you'll be a little harder to get because you'll be under the WWE banner. But if not, would love to talk to you more about WrestlingInc.com, all your interviews, and everything else in the world of pro
we've had
wrestling.
A lot of fun.
Yes. So thank you for joining us, Andy. That is a 3-time Emmy nominee and Emmy Award winning Andy Malnoske.
You got it right this time. All right.
Yes.
It's all good, man.
All right. Take care. Thank you for chatting with us.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
All right, you too.
Bye.
So that's going to do it for this week's edition of the show. Thanks for Andy for joining us on the show. Hopefully you watch Super Showdown, and before you know it, we've got predictions next week for Elimination Chamber. The road to WrestleMania is coming fast, and oh, by the way, it is March, and starting on March the 1st, it is 36 days for WrestleMania 36.
Let's go.
So we'll have a special top 36 countdown. We'll reveal our 5 choices for WrestleMania matches starting next week. We'll do 36 through 31. I will pick him out. Let's see where he ranks them.
All right, we'll see.
All right, Heal the Face. For Brandon the Icebreaker
Yep.
Clements, for myself at K-Rock Jared, this has been the Heal the Face podcast. We will see you in March.
See ya.